this is year 2 here at Franklin County. You know, last year was with COVID. It was kind of interesting. We didn't play a single game with a full roster. In fact, we didn't start the same 11 kids on either side of the ball a single game last year. It was just crazy. But the good part about that is a lot of young kids got a lot of reps that they might not have gotten. So this year we're hoping that we can stay healthy and the second round won't hit us like the first round did last year.
Yeah.
We've got 6 starters back on offense, 6 starters back on defense. Our quarterback, we split quarterbacks last year, used 2 different quarterbacks. One was a senior, one was a sophomore. The sophomore's back. He's a good passer, and he'll be a junior this year, and he runs the ball well also. So we're looking for big things out of him. He's 6'2", 170. His name is Evan Stam. Has a really good upside to him. Looking forward to seeing what he can do as an every snap quarterback for us. Receiving wise, we've got a couple returning starters back. Braden McCall, who's only a sophomore, 5'7", 145-pound receiver, slot receiver, does a real good job, especially making people miss after he catches the ball. And we're looking for big things out of him. Larry Winchester, who played running back last year for us, we've moved him to slot. He's a 2-way starter, led the team in tackles last year. In fact, he was our defensive MVP last year. And he'll start at both strong safety and free safety and slot receiver. And then Monte Austin is another one of our slot receivers, because Braden McCall, we can move in outside or inside depending on what we're wanting to accomplish. Monte Austin is a sophomore, has a lot of upswing with him. Looking for big things out of him. Running backs this year, we've running back got by committee. Senior Will Barnes and sophomore Cody Abercrombie. Both are hard runners, can run inside or outside. They're physical. They don't dodge contact. In fact, they kind of like to make contact when they're running the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do. Our offensive line is where we lost the most starters from last year. We lost 3 starters off of the offensive line. Actually, 4 starters, from our offensive line. So we're rebuilding that. Our starting 5 on the offensive line are Cooper Bowden at center, Hunter Duvall at guard, Corbin Pritchard at tackle. And then on the other side, it's Jimmy Adair at tackle. My mind just totally went blank. And Kevin Sullivan at guard.
It happens this time of year.
It does. It does. It's one of those things because we've been working different people in at offensive line. In fact, I got it wrong. Cooper is at that left guard spot, and Kevin Sullivan, we moved to center. We switched the 2 of them the other day. So those are our starters. We've got 3 seniors on the line and 2 underclassmen on the line. So we just day by day, our offensive line is a little undersized. We only have 2 offensive linemen who weigh over 200 pounds. In fact, one of our starting offensive linemen only weighs 130. Okay. So we're small up front, but those kids are physical. They're not scared of contact. They work hard, and they take pride in what they do. So we're looking for big things out of them. Defensively, we've switched to a 3-3 stack this year.
Okay.
We hired a couple new defensive coaches this offseason. Coach Eddie Money, our D-line coach, I brought him back. He's back again this year. And
that's a good name.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. He's co-coordinating the defense with Bill McCullough. I hired Bill McCullough out of Kentucky. He was an assistant at Lindsey Wilson for a while. In the past couple of years, he's been at Taylor County up there. I know him because when he was coaching in college, he recruited my son out of high school. So I'd met him that way, but we brought him down. He's a 3-3 stack guy, knows the defense real well. So he and Eddie are co-coordinate together. And then Kelsey Jones is doing our secondary, and this will be Kelsey's first year on the football staff with us. So offensively, we're spread. My other offensive assistants are Chuck Severson, who does receivers, and Jake Montalbano, who does our offensive line. And we kind of call the offense by committee.
Okay. Well, you're definitely going to need some guys like that as we're referring to your players that are not afraid of contact, definitely physical. Looking at 1A ball, it's probably, in my opinion, is one of the most entertaining classes in the state. Fierce competition. You do see a lot of two-way guys, kind of that hard-nosed,
Right.
old-fashioned football. Had a chance to talk to Kobe Roberts over at Auxiliary. He talked about conditioning. And coach, when you got a lot of guys, or should I say, when you have so few guys on the team that go both ways, how important is conditioning? What are the types of things that you all do in the off season to get ready for the fall?
I'd say this past summer, more than any summer in the past that I can think of course, last year was my first year back at a 1A school in a long time. So I had to get back in that mentality a little bit. Like you said, dealing with smaller rosters, kids going both ways. So we really focused this past summer on our running more than anything. I mean, don't get me wrong. We still lifted every day, but we spent more time running and doing conditioning than I think we have in a long time. And the main reason is I think we've got 5 starters on each side that are both way players. Mm-hmm. And then another 3 of the remaining 6 are both way players, but they have somebody else they rotate in with. So it's, at least they're getting a series. And that's kind of how we've tried to do it, is where we have as many of our 2-ways players as possible. If we can find somebody of equal talent level with them, then we alternate series. Like our running backs. Will Varn starts at defensive end. Cody Abercrombie is one of our stack linebackers, and then they both play running back on offense. So we'll rotate them every series. That way, every other series, one of them gets off. We figured that's the best way to get the most out of them. Mm-hmm. And that also at least gives them a little chance to catch their breath. And we're doing that with several other players also.
Okay. Coach, talk to me a little bit about, just your history, where you're from. I know you said this is year number 2 for you, and now, going into the second season for you. Where were you at before? And then, kind of what led you to Franklin County, and how'd you end up in the head coaching position?
I've been coaching football at the high school and college level for the last 27 years.
Okay.
21 of those years I spent in Alabama.
Okay.
I was a head coach at Maplesville in Alabama back in early 2000s, 01 and 02. Mm-hmm. And I was at Alabama Christian in Montgomery in 03, 04, and 05. I was down at New Brockton, which is outside of Dothan, in 06 and 07. Lawrence County, which is in North Alabama, 07 and 08. Then I was DC at Columbia High School in Huntsville.
Okay, yep.
In 2010. And then from 2011 to 2018, I was the head coach at Priceville High School in North Alabama. And then also I was an assistant at Eufaula in the mid-90s. Okay.
Those are lots of familiar stops.
I have. I was in Bardstown, Kentucky for the 2 years before I came down here. I was at Nelson County High School. One of those things, my son was getting recruited by a lot of schools up north, and we're like, well, let's kind of be closer to where he's probably going to end up playing. When this job opened up down here, I'm 2 hours from where I grew up, or about 3 hours actually from where I grew up. So it makes it, I'm close enough to home without being home. Right. I coached in Florida back in the mid-90s also. So,
Coach, being that Franklin County, just right there on the Apalachicola coast, just a unique community to be a part of. Recently embattled, of course, with the storms and the hurricanes over the past couple of years, or should I say 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
Community that's really getting back into the swing of things. You inherit the job, and then COVID starts. Now you're kind of getting your first real year, as I like to call it. What are some of your goals for the program, being at, just in a highly competitive 1A class and being in the state of Florida?
Our biggest goal is we want to be competitive every week. Okay. That's our biggest, our plan as a coaching staff. I'm also the athletic director at Franklin County. Mm-hmm. And that's our plan for our whole athletic program, is we want to compete in everything that we do. We want everybody to know when they get done playing us that they had a fight on their hands the whole entire game.
Mm-hmm.
We want our kids to, at the same time, my coaching staff and I have the same idea of we want to teach our kids what it means to be a man, help them grow as a person, not just as an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I realized a long time ago, wins are great, but to me, it's even better when 10, 15 years down the line, you're getting invited to kids' weddings, or you're getting contacted by your players when they have their first child, or,
Mm-hmm.
They send you that card saying, hey, I'm where I'm at because of what you did.
Right.
That's the big thing. And that's kind of what our staff is trying to do here is we're trying to let our kids know that we're here for them and we want them to succeed in all that they do. And we want to help prepare them for life.
Mm-hmm.
Our on the field goals, like I said, is be competitive. We want to win more games than we won last year. And just be in it. Our biggest problem last year is we just didn't finish. Either we didn't finish the game or we didn't start the game.
Mm-hmm.
We went 0-7, but with the exception of the playoff game against Taylor County and the Weewall game in the regular season, the rest of our regular season games we're in. We either spotted somebody 2 touchdowns in the first or second quarter, or had a meltdown at the halfway through the second quarter. We lost to Liberty County and we ran out of time on their 8-yard line, where if we score, we tie the game. We turned the ball over 3 times inside the red zone against Rocky Bayou, where if we score on those three times down there, we don't lose by a point in overtime. We beat them by 3, possibly 4 touchdowns.
Okay.
Brunson, another one of those games. We go down, take a 7-0 lead, and then we fall asleep and give up 21 points because of turnovers. And then all of a sudden we fight back and we lose by 7 to them. So, I mean, it's one of those things where we've got to learn to play all 4 quarters. And we've talked a lot about that this year. Part of our problem last year is I don't think our kids fully grasped what we were trying to do offensively.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent a lot of time this off season as a coaching staff simplifying what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Even my assistants were like, Coach, there were times where you're calling stuff and it was even, we were having trouble sometimes. And I get it now because the system we use is a system that I've used for the past 10 years, where my whole offensive staff last year was new.
Mm-hmm.
So they were learning the system. They're trying to teach the kids the system. Well, once we sat down and really talked about everything, I began to see where stuff that I thought was easy and simple, it's easy and simple to me because I've done it for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for them. So we did a real good job this offseason of simplifying. Our kids seem to really be picking it up and understanding now what we're trying to do, which is beneficial. And then defensively, like I said, we needed to do something where we could take advantage of the fact that we're real small.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the 3-3 stack with the stunts and everything that you're doing with it is really for a team doesn't have big linemen, and we don't have big linemen.
Yeah, well, it looks like for the most part, especially in this neck of the woods, that there seems to be some parity now, especially with smaller schools. There looks to be a little bit more evenly matched teams. Not so much of the mixed match of just, super big school, super tiny school. And to me, that makes for better football. So I'm looking forward to a competitive season. And I'm definitely glad that you took out time to talk with us right before season gets started. Who do you have up first? You have a preseason game?
Our preseason game is against Harvest Community in Jacksonville.
Okay.
This Friday. We're excited about that. It's a game that we feel we can be competitive in. That was one of the things that we did with our schedule this year is we wanted to play teams that we felt we matched up with. And when I say match up, doesn't mean that we're going to go in and win, but teams that have the same, our size is the same. We're not going to sit there and get off the bus and be playing a team that's their offensive line average is 250, 300, where ours average is 150 pounds. That kind of situation. We want we want to build something and build that competitiveness, because in the end, our goal is we want to be one of those schools that get talked about every year in 1A, you know, like Baker, like Blountstown, like Madison County. Those 1A schools that everybody knows about every year. You talk about them every year, especially Baker. I mean, I can't ever remember Baker not being mentioned as one of the top teams in 1A football. And that's what our goal is in the long run here. But we understand where we're at. It's baby steps. I mean, Franklin County's had one winning season in school history. It's it combined. So building that time, and where we have one winning season and 9 over seasons. So it's building a tradition. You got to start somewhere, and we're laying the groundwork now, and hopefully good things are headed our way.
Okay. Well, Coach, thank you for taking the time and talk with us at Four Quarters Online. We're definitely looking forward to catching up with you sometime later on in the season, checking in with you. But yeah, we look forward to it, and we hopefully will get a chance to pay you guys a visit in person.
Sounds good. Thank you very much for what y'all do.